Permanency and safety. A revolving door of foster care is traumatic for a child. Ohio should work to reduce the number of times a child enters and exits foster care to give him or her the best chance of securing what every child should have, and that is a safe, loving, and permanent home. Second, foster parent participation. Foster parents who have direct knowledge of the child's daily activities are today not always allowed to be part of the court process. Ohio should emphasize the importance of foster parents' input and their right to attend court hearings and to present information to the court. Guardian ad litem non-compliance is the third issue. All abused, neglected, and dependent children should have someone representing their best interests in court. Often, this falls to a guardian ad litem or a CASA, court-appointed special advocate, volunteer. To ensure all kids have an advocate, Ohio should also require guardian ad litems to be appointed in dependency cases. Currently, they're not being appointed in dependency cases. Dependency cases are often factually similar to abuse and neglect cases, which under current law are required to have a guardian ad litem. Ohio should support the expansion of the court-appointed special advocate CASA model to the 51 counties that do not currently have a CASA program. One of the surprises for me, and I guess I should have known it, was that this proven model of CASA is not in over half Ohio counties. And that to me was a shock. We have, however, heard time and time again that too many guardian ad litems are not fully investigating a case before making a recommendation to the judge about a child's best interests. The group recommends that the Supreme Court of Ohio should look to revise the rules on guardian ad litem to provide accountability for those guardians ad litem who are simply not doing their job today. Many are, some are not. Mentoring for foster youth is our next issue. Young people in foster care have expressed the need. We heard this time and time again at meetings we had held around the state. They expressed to us the need for mentors to help them transition to independence and adulthood. Ohio should support existing mentoring efforts that focus on foster youth and see if other mentoring programs can provide mentors for youth in foster care. Next issue, normalizing experience for youth in foster care. And again, we heard this time and time again. Young people in foster care often are not allowed to take part in normal activities, such as simply spending the night at a friend's house. And the reason they can't do that is because they're in foster care. Ohio should clarify in statute that agencies are not liable for a child's participation in normal childhood activities. Next, funding the child welfare system. Our state ranks low, if you look at the state funds, low in financial support for our child welfare system. The group recommends that Ohio should create a state-level fund to ensure county agencies responsible for children's services are able to provide at least a minimum level of those services. Next, accountability in child welfare. Ohio should look for ways to increase accountability and transparency within the child welfare system. Next, planned permanent living arrangements. While a child is in a planned permanent living arrangement, the agency is not required to try and reunify that child with the family. But the child is also not eligible for adoption during that period of time. Ohio should narrow the use of the custody status by statute and look for ways to maintain safe and appropriate connections with the child's biological parents. Next, foster youth voice in court. Young people in foster care need to be kept informed about their cases. and to be actively engaged in the case planning or court hearings that affect their lives. Ohio should give foster care youth an age-appropriate guide explaining the foster care process. Also, agencies should ensure that children are invited to their court hearings and, when age-appropriate, able to attend those hearings. Next, medical care for foster youth. Currently, medical files don't follow young people when they change placements. Ohio should create a central registry where pediatricians who treat foster youth can access their medical records and allow for greater continuity of care. Also, Ohio should ensure that new Medicaid requirements enable young people in foster care to continue receiving community psychiatric supportive treatment. We have discussed the recommendations calling for court action with Ohio Supreme Court Justice Marynell Townsend. And we have discussed many of the recommendations requiring administrative action with the state agency involved with foster care. We will continue to encourage the court and state agencies to consider implementing the advisory group's recommendations as they deem appropriate. In just a moment, State Senator Peggy Lehner and State Representative Dorothy Pelanda will talk about what they have proposed for the recommendations requiring legislative action. Then Marynell Townsend will briefly discuss her experiences as a foster parent.